91.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. That was Stephen Bernstein's Millennial Territory Orchestra, the album called Popular Culture, and the track Flirty Bird. He'll be one of the performers at the Saratoga Jazz Festival on Saturday, June 29th. So that will be a good one, as will all the performers. Let's get on the phone. Let's get on air. Danny, you with me?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. Love to hear that. Thank you for being here, Danny Melnick. Let me do a brief introduction here, if I may. And I will start off by saying Danny Melnick has produced festivals, tours, concerts, and special events worldwide since 1989. He formed his company Absolutely Live Entertainment in 2007. He manages the all-star ensemble Artemis. He's produced criminal justice reform benefits in Washington, D.C. and New York City for Justice Aid. Danny is the artistic director of Carnegie Hall's The Shape of Jazz series, now in its 20th season. He is producing partner and artistic director of the Freihofer's Saratoga Jazz Festival, which is celebrating their 47th anniversary on June 29 and 30th. Along with business partner Isabel Sofer, Danny recently opened a new venue called The Local in Saugerties. A warm welcome back to you, to LocalMotion, Danny Melnick.
Thank you so much, Rita. I just realized it's LocalMotion, and the venue's called The Local.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of cool. It works well together. And I do want to tell listeners before you and I start our conversation that we are going to have 2 pairs of tickets to give away after you and I speak to 2 separate shows. So just stay tuned for that, folks. Don't call in now because I'm not going to interrupt this conversation. But stay tuned. We are going to have some ticket giveaways to give away. There's so much to talk with you about. There always is. Yeah. And I always like to go into a little history of how you got to where you are today. I know you grew up in Long Island. You played the clarinet. Talk to me about like your early musical years and what you were listening to and how you kind of got to where you are.
So you're right. I grew up in Long Island, and I did play the clarinet for quite a while in grade school and all through high school, junior high school and high school. I was born in 1967, so I really grew up like in the 70s and early 80s. Yep. And the big thing in my house with my parents was a combination of doo-wop and then like more contemporary great vocalists. So my parents listened to Neil Diamond, Barbra Streisand, Billy Joel. They loved Simon and Garfunkel. And Paul Simon solo stuff, and really listened to a lot of, that type of music. And that was what was in the car, on the 8-track, and in the house.
Yeah.
My parents were not really like major musical people, but they definitely listened to, popular music. And then I got into classic rock, probably when I was like 10, 11, 12 years old, particularly with the Beatles and the Stones. And then by the time I was like 13, 14, I was like a complete Who freak. And still to this day, like the Who was always like my number one rock band.
Love it.
And then I got into progressive rock, and I started becoming a Yes freak and Genesis and King Crimson and Gentle Giant. And from those bands, I learned about the jazz musicians, because sometimes I would read different magazines or hear interviews with, some of those types of people, and they would talk about Miles Davis and John Coltrane and Louis Armstrong and, these other, amazing jazz musicians. And I was like, who's that? What is that? And I started really getting into jazz when I was in high school. I worked at a record store at a shopping mall on Long Island in
Roosevelt Field?
12th grade. Yeah. I worked at Roosevelt Field at Record World, and that was brilliant. And then, it just kind of took off from there. And I really, my musical tastes are so incredibly diverse. It's impossible to really, and just like you, I mean, we're just, we love it all.
Yeah.
So it's impossible to really explain like the diversity of my musical life and enjoyment. But since that job in high school at the record store, and then going to college at American University in D.C.,
And majoring
I
in
really was like,
economics, though.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. But I really always had been sort of hyper focused on figuring out a way to work in the music business.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked at a jazz club when I was there at Blues Alley in Georgetown, and I went to London for my junior spring semester, and worked at Wembley Stadium and Wembley Arena, and did a lot of other things. I managed a band kind of in college, and then came back to New York, and I got a job at the Blue Note, and that kind of really set me on my path. And so I always sort of really wanted to work on the live side. I was a booking agent for a short period of time in the mid '90s, and I've done a lot of other things, as you know, throughout my career. But the live thing for me was really what it was about. Like, I just felt like that connectivity between the artist and the audience, that unique,
Mm-hmm.
in the moment experience, was something that I loved as a fan. And as a ticket buyer, I went to tons and tons of concerts in high school and college, and just was, nutty about it. And so that appealed to me much more so than like working at a record label or, in some other situation. And fortunately, by will and luck and being at the right place at the right time and just working really hard over the years, I've been able to do that. And, it's been amazing.
And you also have talk about George.
Yeah. So I worked at the Blue Note for about 9 months in 89 and 90, in the fall, like August of 89 through about April of 90. And I had learned about George Wein, who created the Newport Jazz Festival in 1954, the Newport Folk Festival in 1959. He created New Orleans Jazz Fest in 1970, Saratoga in 78, and, many
Legend.
other festivals. And I had
Legend.
learned about him, during that time at the Blue Note. I didn't really know much about him before that. And at the time, JVC Jazz Festival in New York was happening, and a lot of other things. And I don't know, like, I just was really interested in seeing if I could work for him and find a job there. I had no clue, what to think or how to do it. But I wound up sending him a letter, totally cold, in the mail with my resume. And then I followed up, and the receptionist said, you should talk to John Schreiber. He's the vice president of the company, and he handles these things. And so she actually put me on the phone with John, who is now the CEO of NJPAC in Newark,
Wow.
the New Jersey Performing Arts Center, and still a very dear friend and colleague. And John said, your resume's here in a pile. I see you have box office experience at Wembley during your internship in London. I said, yes. And he said, you're going to talk to Deborah Ross. She works for George directly, and she's hiring for the New York JVC Jazz Festival box office manager. It's a seasonal position, but talk to her. So he put me in touch with her, and she said to me, I have somebody who's older than you and has more experience, but come in for an interview. And so I went there, and I met Deborah, and I got the job.
Wow.
And
Wow.
the job was to manage all of these concerts at Carnegie Hall, and at the time Avery Fisher Hall, and the Beacon Theater and Town Hall. It was all hard tickets. It was all like no internet. This was
Right.
1990. I mean, it was
People
mail
used to
order,
stand in
checks in the
line.
mail.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it was totally insane.
Yep.
And so it was all mail order, checks in the mail. Like, we would mail out brochures, and people would, fill in the box with the tickets that they wanted and send the money, and we'd have to fulfill the orders. And we had like a huge safe, this like taller than me, like this really large safe in the basement of that office, and it was just filled with tickets, for all the shows.
Mm.
And so I did that, and that job was supposed to be like 3 months, and then see you later.
Right.
But I wound up finding my way in there, and I worked for George for 17 years, and then I came back and worked with him as an independent consultant on Newport for about another 8 years, and so my relationship with George spanned from 1990 until 2017.
Wow.
And so, it was a really long 27-year run, and amazing and incredible. And I went to Europe multiple times, and South America and Japan, and, all over the United States, and the Caribbean. And, it's just a lot of stuff, a lot of tours, a lot of festivals. a lot of shows.
Amazing. A lot of shows.
So
Oh,
a
I
lot of
think
shows.
one of the things that I like most about you is that I consider you a fan before I consider
Yes.
you a business guy. I just do. Because your love of music is so evident if anyone's ever at the local or sees you at the Saratoga Jazz Festival. You're a fan first and everything else secondary. At least that's what it seems to me.
You're totally right. I mean, I try obviously very hard to, keep everything in check. I really do have to. I mean, George, taught me over the years that I was not, quote unquote, one of them, meaning a musician. He's like, I know you're going to become friends with them. I know you're going to become colleagues with them. I know that you're going to work with them and hang with them, but you're a presenter, you're a promoter, you're a producer, and you have to remember that because you're going to be dealing with them on a business level, and you have to keep your professional relationship with them in check because it will become a conflict and a problem if you don't.
Right.
And I've really, 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 worked so hard over the years to keep that balance and to keep that relationships, those relationships manageable and as balance is really the best word I can use because
Yes.
as you know, like we know so many, musicians, just like you were playing Steve Bernstein before. I mean, Steve Bernstein and I are really good friends, but like we have this business relationship.
Yep.
And I have this really good business relationship with Scott Sherrard, but like he came over on Sunday and hung out with Barry and me in the backyard for 2 hours and just BS'd and hung out.
Right.
So, when we get down to doing shows and, we're working.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a very interesting relationship, but I do love the music and I love the musicians. I have tremendous respect for creative artists because to try to understand, and I have some of this with my wife because she's an artist, but like the work that goes into that, to practice, to learn, to master the craft of whatever they're doing, and then to bring that to the stage or to records with other musicians in that collaborative, connective spirit, and the way musicians are able to really express themselves on stage with other musicians in this, collaborative, amazing way is mind-blowing to me. Like, I just think that is like the ultimate form of like human connectivity and expression, and I have such tremendous respect for musicians because they work so hard.
Yes.
And if they're great, they're obviously talented, dedicated, spent many hours alone practicing as teenagers and, young adults and really sweating it out. And the truth is that a very, very large majority of the musicians that we work with and that we know are not wealthy. They're not, doing it for the money, quote unquote, but they're not even like being properly compensated. So like there's so much of that, in my head when I think about the musicians and how much I respect them because they're really putting themselves out there.
It's a really hard life. Anybody that glorifies it just has never done it, I don't think, and all the input and all of that. But for me, seeing live music, there's nothing quite like it. And the connection, it's like my weekly therapy session. The connection between live music, between the musicians and in the audience, it's magic. I have no other word for it than magic. And it's so great because it's the one thing that I can think of that unites us all. We might be of different backgrounds, of different political thoughts, of whatever. But when we all gather in one space for music, we are one.
Totally. And I think, what's driven me in my career is that, being primarily, a jazz presenter, but certainly someone who has presented countless other genres of music and collaborative, rhythmic music from all over the world and, up in Newport at Saratoga and certainly now at the local with Isabel, we're presenting very diverse artists, very diverse musical, genres, if you will, for lack of a better term, musical directions, rhythmic, different rhythms and musical structures and all of what goes into what these artists are performing and playing. And that leads to a really diverse audience. And I
Yes.
think that, I could have said, I'm going to go into the rock world or the pop world or the hip hop world. And that is fabulous, but it's very sort of unidimensional. It's really kind of like, okay, like you're working in the pop world and this is what pop music is. And these are what pop concerts are like. And this is what it is.
Right.
But for what I do, all through the years, been able to work with such an incredible variety of artists from all over the world is really the thing that drives me so much, because it really is that togetherness, that connectivity, that universal voice and language, and it does reflect to the audience. The audiences at my shows, whether it's at Saratoga or the local or Carnegie Hall, are really diverse audiences.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, is hugely important and really fabulous.
Absolutely.
I think it's great.
Absolutely. I love your trademark. By the way,
Yeah.
your company that you started in 2007, your company is called Absolutely Live. The website is absolutelylive.net. And it starts off by saying, trust us.
Yeah. Yeah. And Isabel and I have really taken that, with the local to like a whole nother level, because here we are in the Hudson Valley, in Saugerties, creating this, new space and saying to the people who live in this area, we know that you don't know a lot of these groups. We're not saying that to be jerks. We just know that's the truth.
Yep.
But we know who these artists are. We know these groups. We know how amazing they are. And we want you to know that we are not going to bring any artist to this venue that's not going to be amazing. And just trust us. Just like I feel like people have a lot of faith in, playlists and, all sorts of different things that they will go to hear music, different sources, radio programs, et cetera. And we want them to behave the same way with us on the live side, to say like, oh, the local's doing this, amazing flamenco night. We don't know the names of these artists, but, we're going to go because we know it's going to be great.
It's going to be
And
quality.
that's the
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah.
And so, it's just really like, just trust us. We're doing, we've been in this, we know what's happening, and we're not messing around here. And,
Well,
this is
I'm
the
a
high
firm
level of
example
artistry
of someone who has spent quite a bit of time at the local in Saugerties and have just like walked away, blown away. Like people I talk to afterwards are like, oh my gosh, what was that? It was so good. And they keep
Yep.
coming back. Most every show I've been there, if it's not sold out, the room is pretty packed. And
Yeah, we've been doing really good business. Yeah.
yeah. And it's just, I mean, look at this past weekend, Jerron Paxton and Dennis Lichtman. Holy crap. And they were even surprised at the audience. They kept looking like, man, where do people have in the water? It's like the audience is just so into it, and everything is so different. And a lot of things, like you say, you don't know. But I've been trying myself, even for like the last year or two, just to not always see the same people. Although I love them, it's nice to just see new artists and expose yourself to something different. And your venue is the perfect opportunity here in the Hudson Valley, in a place to do that in.
It is. And I think I will say that one of the beauties of the space for Isabel and me is that it's not so big.
Right.
So even though obviously we would love to book quote unquote bigger artists and have 300 or 400 people and like make more money and all of that, like it is what it is. It seats about 120. A whole bunch of shows have sold out. Some have come close. And
Danny, that's young. You're going to move up in a couple of years.
Well, I don't know, but it's a good size,
Right,
because
right.
it's manageable for us, and it does give us the opportunity to offer, artists a chance to come to this area for the first time to play. A lot of them have never been to the Hudson Valley. A lot of them, have toured through the Northeast and passed through this area. So that's been very special for us. And obviously that means that, the audiences here very likely have not seen those people live. And it also gives us a chance to take some risks and experiment a little bit which we have done quite a lot, because it's not like we're trying to sell, hundreds of tickets, and if we don't, we're going to be crushed.
Right.
It's kind of like,
Right.
okay, well, we obviously would love to sell out or sell 100 tickets, but if we sell 80 tickets, it's not horrible, it's fine.
Right.
So it's a kind of thing where it's a sweet spot right now, and we didn't really know that when we came into it. I mean, we Isabel and I were definitely like, oh, we really want like 150, 160. Like, we just thought like it'll be bigger. We'll be able to fit all these people in here, but we just can't,
Right.
and it's okay.
Right.
It's really been
It's
good for
a
us because it
very
does take the
intimate.
pressure off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very intimate, and it takes the pressure off of us to like go bananas and like try to sell. We're just kind of we're marketing and we're working hard, but we also have a good comfort level, I think, with the size of the space.
Absolutely. And by the way, listeners, we're talking to Danny Melnick of The Local in Saugerties, as well as producer of the Freihofer's Saratoga Jazz Festival. To finish up on The Local, their website is thelocalsaugerties.com, and treat yourself to a night out. Talk about the space, if you would, please, of The Local.
Yeah, so it's the Dutch chapel, which was built in 1876. And it's a beautiful, incredible, gorgeous, historic chapel with amazing original hardwood floor, 28-foot high vaulted ceilings with gorgeous stained glass. Sound is amazing. And we were able to sign a multi-year lease with the Reformed Church of Saugerties, which is right next door, which owns the building. And for many, many years, it was a child daycare center. And then the woman, I think, retired a couple of years ago, and then Isabel went in there in the summer of 22 and took a look at it, and then I went over and saw it, and we, really said, okay, we can do this. And so we made this great deal with the church, and we had done some renovations, and we opened up in September, and we've done probably 30, 35 shows already, and we have a ton of shows coming up between now and middle of June. And we're starting to book the fall now,
Love it.
It's cool. I mean, It's just, people love being there. It's very loose, mellow hang, no pressure.
There's easy
the shows are
parking.
usually,
It's right in
yeah, the parking I
Saugerties.
think is great, right,
Yeah.
all over town. Yeah, and people
Yeah.
can go out to eat or, whatever. We encourage people to, frequent the local, restaurants and stuff and bars. And
Yeah.
it's been a joy.
It is a joy, and it's great to always be there. You also offer beer and wine at most shows, and little
Yeah.
libations. It's just a lovely space. The lighting is cool. And Danny, you have a stage, and I think there's still a little bit of
No.
time left if people like to donate. We can't talk money here, other than that you do
Yeah.
have a donation. I can't talk dollar amounts, but
Okay. Yep.
please talk about that if you would, and then we're moving on to Saratoga.
All right, cool. So we are doing a fundraiser right now. We've raised quite a bit of money. We have a matching grant, and we at the website people can go and see. It's a tax deductible donation through Global Fest, which is Isabel's World Music global music company in New York City. It's a 501c3, and people can make a donation. And we've raised quite a bit of money, like I said, and we already bought the stage, which is a total game changer for us. All the artists were playing on the floor. So people had a hard time seeing, and, it was just a big investment, but we were able to do that already. And then we have money for, we're hiring some young people to help us run the shows, and we have some other things we want to do in the building, and we're really going to use the money to pay the artists and, feed them, and if they need room sometimes, we'll be able to do that. And so it's very exciting for us, and it's really, a great thing. The community has really stepped up and been very generous with the donations. And
Yeah,
that's just been an
yeah.
amazing thing. So they
People
can go to the website.
People are definitely digging the local, and the website is thelocalsaugerties.com. Check out the lineup. Just pick a show and go. And like Danny
Yes.
says, trust him, because you really will love it and be amazed. So,
Yeah.
I've never walked out of there disappointed, never. And I've seen
Yeah, that's great. I'm
a
glad to hear that.
lot, not one time, not one time. It's unique, it's
Yeah.
different. People I don't hear, I now follow them on socials. I'm like obsessed with them after I hear them, and it's all beautiful. So it's all good.
That's
And
great.
stay tuned, listeners. We're going to be doing a couple of ticket giveaways soon. Give me 15, 20 minutes here and we'll do them, but stay tuned to that. Danny, I want to spend the rest of our time talking about this amazing festival, 47th annual Freihofers Jazz Festival in Saratoga. Tell me how you got involved.
Yeah. So George Wein, as I said earlier, started the festival in 1978. It was originally called the Newport Jazz Festival in Saratoga. He and a gentleman named Herb Chesbrough, who was the president of the Saratoga Performing Arts Center at the time, made a deal to partner on the festival. There was a riot in Newport in 1971 at the Jazz Festival, and George moved. He had the name, and so Newport kind of kicked him out, and he moved the Newport Jazz Festival to New York in 1972, and it was called Newport Jazz New York. And for quite a few years throughout the 70s, he was doing the festival in New York City, and then he went up to Saratoga and made a deal with Herb to do a Newport Jazz Festival up there. I started working for George, as I said earlier, in 1990, doing the JVC New York Jazz Festival box office job, and wound up, sticking around. And then I first went up to Saratoga to work in 91, and basically never left. And so I started booking the artists in 1999, and then I took over the partnership with Saratoga Performing Arts Center in 2008.
Wow.
So I have been a partner with them since 2008. I've been working on the festival since 91. And it's been, just an incredible journey and an amazing pleasure to be there every late June and to put on this incredible historic festival. It's such a beautiful, amazing, idyllic venue. And so we do it over the last full weekend of June, every summer. And as you said earlier, it's the 47th festival now. This is coming up June 29th and 30th, and it's 2 days, 2 stages. We have about 21 bands over the 2 days. And we have an amazing lineup. Every year it's such a battle to get the artists to, be able to make deals, particularly with some of the more well-known, bigger names that draw a lot of the, fans to come to the festival. And as time has gone on, the prices have gone up and up and up with the artist fees.
Sure.
And post-COVID, it's been very challenging, very difficult. But over the last couple of years since the pandemic, we've just really stepped it up. We felt, as a partnership between me and Elizabeth Sobel, the CEO at SPAC, and her team, that we really needed to reinvest in the festival, to push hard to get great artists, and to really market and promote as strongly as we could, because we knew that coming out of the pandemic, we had to kind of get people to come back, and we knew that we had to get new people to come too, because we just, by reality of the situation, had lost, some fans. I think people just decided they weren't going to do this anymore, or they were done, or, whatever the case is. So it was huge and weird and strange coming out of the pandemic and trying to figure out how to market and promote and sell a large scale gathering, but we had great success last year.
Yeah.
And this past, June. And 22 was good, but 23 really was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we feel like we have a tremendous momentum right now leading into 24, and ticket sales right now are amazing. They're way ahead of last year.
Amazing.
It's
It's so great.
Yeah, yeah.
I was happy to be there both days last year. Thank you. And I also just thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved watching you. I don't know how many steps a day you put in, but you run
know, I
from the
wonder.
amphitheater to the discovery stage, and you are the person that is introducing it all. And I'll never forget your face last year at the discovery stage when you had booked some Samara Joy there, who of course blew up before you had, the deal with her there and all of that. And that place was so packed for the Discovery stage. You just looked around. Oh my goodness. Like you can believe the number of people that were there.
Really?
And
Yeah.
then this year, of course, Samara Joy is on the main stage.
Yeah. I mean, that that's true. I booked her before she exploded and before she won the Grammys. I saw her a few times. I presented her at the Falcon too. And, I just knew, like, I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew she was amazing and going to be amazing. And so that was really crazy. And, people on the Facebook page, we have this great Freihoffer's Jazz Festival Facebook group page. And a lot of people were like, why isn't she on the main stage? And I was like, well, when I booked her, she, was not a 2-time Grammy Award winning artist.
Right, right.
And so, and the schedule was set and I couldn't bump bands from the main stage. It just doesn't work like that.
Right.
So it was pretty bananas out there, and I kind of knew that was going to happen. But yeah, she, was amazing, and people just loved her set. And fortunately, we were able to get her back in June, and so she is doing the amphitheater on Saturday, June 29th, and I'm totally thrilled. She just won another Grammy.
Yes.
And I just presented her for 2 nights at the Apollo Theater in December, which both nights sold out.
Amazing.
And so I have some other things I'm doing with her already in 2025. And so, very exciting. We have Lake Street Dive that night, which is, super excited about. Really a coup for us to get them.
So much fun. And the great Joey
Joey
Alexander.
Alexander.
Yeah. And one of my favorite peoples, Stephen Bernstein's Millennial Territory Orchestra, who of course will get on the show. The other thing I have to say, just as a person that attends the jazz festival, I don't like the big corporate stuff. I just don't. I haven't gone to a big stadium show or anything like that. It's just my choice not to lately, right? And I love the smaller intimates. When I go to the jazz festival, I didn't feel like anything other than this was really intimate, even though it was at a fairly decent sized place. It just kind of felt really cool. It didn't feel like it was bought. It didn't feel like it was corporate. It just felt like it was so cool. And the same people apparently go every year, all the time. They sit in the same areas. You've got these great vendors, great food there as well. And it was just such a feel of community there, of people, oh yeah, no, I've been coming here since, 85 or some stuff. And the t-shirts you see of people wearing, like really 30, 40 years old, those t-shirts.
I know, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Well, you're totally right, and I thank you for saying that. I have said, sort of sarcastically, but not really, over the years, that like the audience owns the festival. And I think that in some ways they do, because they, even through the pandemic, we have had this incredibly loyal, very long-standing, amazing audience who has come from the New York City tri-state area, from Pennsylvania, from all over the capital region, from the Berkshires, from Vermont, and even Canada, and further, of course, from all over the country and other places too. And that audience has been super dedicated to the event, kind of like their secret in some ways. But, we have gotten a lot of new people too in the last couple of years, which has been great. And I think that a lot of the new people who have been there the last couple of years, kind of sensed and saw, what was going on and got right into it, and so it's very cool that we are able to create such an intimate and friendly environment there. I think SPAC, the grounds of SPAC and the beauty of the park there is such a big part of that.
Yep.
I just think it's an idyllic and, gorgeous, place. The amphitheater, is a very cool venue. There's not a bad seat in the house.
Yep.
And, we've tried really hard over the years to just make the artists and the audience as comfortable as possible. I mean, it's hard to explain tangibly like what that means, but we have always allowed the artists to, play, full sets and, feed them well and, take care of them. And one of the big things at the festival over the years is that when you look at the poster or any of the artwork, like all of their names are the same size.
Yep.
Like even that is like a thing, like 100% equal festival billing, we call it. And it doesn't mean that, there's obviously the quote unquote headliners or the first names, and we have to deal with all of that with the booking agents and the managers. But there are a lot of festivals out there that have like all of these artists and all of these,
Yes.
names that are tiny and really small.
Yes.
And it's like,
Yes.
why would you do that?
I
Like, why
know.
would you disrespect the artist
Right.
and
Right.
just like
No. And
book them and then not promote them? Like, it's so stupid
it is.
and it's offensive.
It is.
And the artists,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it is. And you know what? The artists take offense to it. They want to play these events and they'll deal with it, but they don't like it. It's
No,
not right.
it's not
And
right.
so I've learned that from George. Yeah, over the years, George that was like his policy, like, 100% equal billing. And like, we just always, even from that to the event itself, like try everything we can to make sure that the artists know that they're super welcome, that, we value them, that we try to pay them as well as we can, every group. And with the audience too, we're obviously super conscious about the sound and, accommodating everybody there. It's free parking and we let people bring stuff in and, it's just a really great community sort of type of hang,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's,
The vibe there
yeah,
is just you feel safe. Everybody is talking the same language. You know what I mean? And everybody's just
yep,
there to really enjoy the music. Great listening audiences. It's not like you go to the concerts and you hear a bunch of talk. Like people are into this, and they're
yeah,
and tickets. Let's talk about tickets available at SPAC.org. There's amphitheater, there's lawn seats. Saturday, June 29th, artists like Late Street Dive, Samara Joy is going to be there, Joey Alexander, Theo Croco, Sarah Caswell. Amazing sets. I love the fact that you have the two stages that you can run between both. You're never going to be without music. It looks like on Saturday, June 29th, the shows start at 11 a.m. And on the 30th of June, music starts at 11:30, correct?
yes, yes.
Okay.
And on Sunday we have Nora Jones
Yes.
and Stanley
Stanley
Clark,
Clark's.
whose birthday concert, one of the most famous bass players in the world,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Terrence Blanchard, who's, just a brilliant multi-Grammy award-winning trumpet player and Oscar nominee and now, doing these operas at the Metropolitan Opera House. And
Yes.
we
Yes.
have Leve, who's this new star, this young new pop jazz star. She's of Icelandic and Chinese background, actually,
Wow.
and she's selling out everywhere. And she's like 24 years old and just
Oh.
a complete new singer,
Mm.
singer-songwriter, jazz singer on the scene that's just unbelievable.
Oh.
So that's a big coup for us. And we have a lot of, amazing blues, and we have Latin music and, Cuban music and a
I
lot of really cool funk and just very different, type of stuff. We mix it up a lot. So there's such a diverse roster of artists and styles of music that we have on the festival. So it's,
absolutely. I say,
there's something for
folks,
everybody.
mark your calendar and book your hotels now, like now,
Yes. Yeah.
because that does sell out. And SPAC.org. Danny, I'm going to give away a pair of tickets for the local. Let's go back to that. So Saratoga is SPAC.org. The festival's happening June 29th and 30th. Tickets are now on sale, selling nice and fast. SPAC.org. Danny, we're going to go back to the local. I'm going to give away a pair of tickets to see Alexa Tarantino. Talk about her if you would, please.
So Alexa Tarantino is an incredible jazz alto saxophone player and flute player. She is a member of the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra with Wynton Marsalis, and she was a member of Artemis, the all-women's jazz band that I manage.
Mm-hmm.
And she's brilliant. She's an incredible player, an amazing composer. She's going to come with a quartet. She's also, prior to the show, was doing an educational event with high school students, which I'm really excited about. And then the kids are going to stay for the concert.
Oh, great.
And so Alexa is a real dynamic new voice on the jazz scene who, again, trust me, like if you think you dig jazz or you want to learn something new about this great multi-instrumentalist, please come to the local. I think it's April 18th.
Yes, it's Thursday, April
Yeah, am
18th.
I right about that?
Yes,
Yeah.
you are. And the show is at 7, which means doors open at 6 p.m. And that's,
Yeah.
I'm going to give away, as soon as we're done, you guys can call in. And then I'm giving away a second pair of tickets to South Indian Dance and Music with Melnick and friends. And that's happening at the local on Sunday, May 5th at 7 p.m.
Yeah, that's going to be an incredibly dynamic performance. Isabel booked that, and Melnick is just from South Indian descent. Gorgeous choreographer and dancer, and with the beautiful clothing and all the hand gestures and
Love that.
really incredible rhythmic footwork. And that is a super cool thing that we've been trying to do with all of our, as many performances as we can. Obviously, we don't, can't do that all the time. But a lot of the things that we've done this past season and leading into this season now, we're incorporating some form of dance into some of the shows. So we've done tango, we've done flamenco, we've done tap dancing, and a number of other things. And it's really cool because it gives us a chance to show a different art form to the audience and how it connects with music. And so that concert is going to be really special. There's a number of different, band members and a vocalist, and she's going to dance, and I think it's going to be
amazing.
amazing.
And this is on Sunday, May 5th. So Danny Melnick, absolutely live.net. Check out his website, and the local Socrates.com, and the Saratoga Jazz Festival, Saturday, June 29th and Sunday, June 30th. Tickets available now at spac.org. Stay tuned right here. LocalMotion will be talking about the Jazz Festival till it happens, and we'll be booking some guests that will be at the festival here on the show as well. So stay tuned for that. And Danny, as always, it is always a delight, always a pleasure talking with you. I so appreciate your time, and I know I will see you soon at the local, and let's do some ticket giveaways. And is there anything that I missed that you want to get out there?
I don't think so. I mean, thank you for everything, Rita. You've always been such a champion of what we're doing here in the Hudson Valley and all the other venues, and and the artists. And so I appreciate being back again. And no, we're just super excited about the spring. We turn the clocks ahead next Sunday, Saturday night, I guess, Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And that's going to be great.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
We're just, there's a lot happening. I have a bunch of things in New York City that are happening in the spring, and a lot of big concerts I'm doing and benefits and things like that. And then, leading into the festival at the end of June. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Live.net. Danny also has Facebook and social media. You can check him out and trust him. Everything he does is top notch. You won't be disappointed. Otherwise, you can call me and yell at me. But no, really, seriously, you're a mensch, and you're just fantastic at what you do, and we are so lucky to have you here in the Hudson Valley. And also thank you to you and Isabel for presenting such a warm and inviting space as the local in Saugerties. It's really just amazing and lovely and incredible. So thank you for all that
Thanks,
you
Rita.
do
Thank
for
you.
live music.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Danny, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Take care. Bye.
Okay.
91.3 WVKR, Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. Let's do some ticket giveaways. I'm going to give away a pair of tickets right now to see jazz saxophonist Alexa Tarantino and her quartet at the local in Saugerties Thursday, April 18th. The show is at 7, doors open at 6. Danny was just talking about her. She is an incredible up-and-coming artist, and if you'd like to go, and if you can go to that show, please don't just call to win tickets, but actually be able to go to the show. Again, the show is at the local in Saugerties Thursday, April 18th at 7 p.m. with jazz alto saxophonist Alexa Tarantino and her quartet. If you'd like to go see that show, give us a call here right now, 845-437-7178. One pair of tickets, you and a friend get to go, courtesy of the local and us here at LocalMotion. You get to go check out amazing jazz with Alexa Tarantino at the local Thursday, April 18th, 7 p.m. The phone number here, 845-437-7178. Now we're going to take a listen to Joey Alexander, who's one of the performers at the Saratoga Jazz Festival, right here, right now on 91.3 WVKR. .3 WVKR, Joey Alexander. The album is called Origin. We heard the track Hesitation. He's one of the performers at the Saratoga Jazz Festival this summer, I should say, Saturday, June 29th and Sunday, June 30th. Joey Alexander will be performing there on Saturday, June 29th. Tickets available at spac.org. Now, congratulations to Michael, who won a pair of tickets to see Alexa Tarantino at the local on Thursday, April 18th. Guess what, folks? I have another pair of tickets giveaway to a different show. This is a show for South Indian dance and music with Melnick, Srinivasan, and friends. This is happening at the local on Sunday, May 5th at 7 p.m. It's an evening of traditional and contemporary South Indian dance and music with critically acclaimed dancer, choreographer, and educator Melnick Srinivasan. If you would like to go to that show, give us a call here now, and the number is 845-437-7178. You and a guest will go to that show. Please make sure you can go. Don't just call to win tickets. The show is on Sunday, May 5th at 7 p.m. in Saugerties at the local. South Indian dance and music with Melnick Srinivasan. If you'd like to go, just give us a call here, 845-437-7178. Let's take a listen to another performer at the Jazz Fest. This is Stanley Clarke here on 91.3 WVKR. Okay, we're interrupting this for a quick message because it's almost time to leave. So I switched things up here. The winner of the other show wanted the other show. So I have a pair of tickets available right now if you call, but you have to call within the next minute for jazz alto saxophonist Alexa Tarantina and her quartet. This is for the local in Saugerties on Thursday, April 18th at 7 p.m. If you would like to win that pair of tickets, give me a call here right now at 845-437-7178. Again, the phone number here, 845-437-7178. If you would like to go to the local on Thursday, April 18th to see jazz saxophonist Alexa Tarantino, please make sure you can go to the show, and you literally have a minute to call, maybe 2 minutes, and then it's time for me to leave. But let's take a call right now, 845-437-7178, and let's get back to listening to Stanley Clark here on 91.3.